Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to do something slightly different. We are going to be reacting. Yes, reacting. I know, crazy. The wild world of rhythm gaming. Now, rhythm gaming has been a massive part of my streaming and gaming for many years. And who is the video by? It is by Mike the Snare, which I find absolutely hilarious. The channel happens to be called Mike the Snare. Coincidence? I think not. But only 12 days ago, so it's relatively new. I will be leaving a link to the original channel and this video down in the description of this video. So if you want to go watch it, support the actual creator of this video, please do go down there and click it. But let's do it. Let's see what this is all about. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of Guitar Hero stuff in there, I'm guessing, and like precursing to like DDR and all sorts of stuff in rhythm gaming. So this is going to be interesting. There's probably going to be some things that I've never heard of. So let's get into it with the wild world of rhythm gaming.
Music is great, except when it's not. Video games are also great, except when they're not. And when you put the two together, sometimes
Look, see? Guitar Hero.
Beautiful happens. Rhythm games have been a genre of video game for nearly 30 years now. Sometimes they're filled with great original music. Sometimes they're introductions into previously existing musical genres. And sometimes you play with a giant washing machine. So let's take a look at the birth, the rise, the very big rise, the very sharp fall, and the continued existence of rhythm games. The birth of rhythm games can be traced back to Japan in the 1980s.
I wouldn't actually say continued, because rhythm gaming never really came back from that fall. That's the only thing I'm going to say. It never really came back after the fall of what Guitar Hero did to the, like, especially Guitar Hero did to the franchise. Yeah, rhythm gaming itself is still a thing, but it fell. It never really sort of came back. It sort of fell and just hit this low plateau that it stayed at for, you know, the last like 10 years. So,
and there are two progenitors of the genre we can point to. The first, according to Wikipedia, was an electromechanical arcade game distributed by Casco and designed by Kenzo Furukawa. I wish I could show you gameplay or even photos, but I genuinely could not find anything about it outside of Wikipedia and the article it cites. Furukawa's idea was a game where you'd lift girls' skirts in time to the rhythm. There was also Dance Aerobics on the NES. It came with this plastic mat that you would stand on and press these buttons in time to the gameplay. Certainly a precursor, though it's framed more as a fitness game rather than a proper rhythm game. But the real birth of the genre was in 1996, with what many consider to be the first proper rhythm game ever made.
okay. No way. No, it wasn't. There are loads of games.
This is Parappa the Rapper.
That was not the
PlayStation
first.
1. The game is about a child dog who wants to woo a flower. His best friend is a bear, and his arch nemesis is a big chin dog with a sick ride.
Hey, Rummy! What a time for you to come in, buddy.
But in order to get the sunflower of his dreams, Parappa must learn the ways of karate, motor vehicles,
when did Parappa the Rapper originally come out?
The 5 stages of grief.
I thought that was PlayStation.
He sings a big song centered around his catchphrase,
which is...
and his posse celebrates by going to the movies and sitting down right when the movie ends. Yes. It's a simple plot, something straight out of a...
So why is he introducing this video as the very first rhythm game of all time? Like, no other rhythm games came out before this. Yes, there was. Even I know that. DDR has been around longer than this. Before it was on console, when it was just arcade cabinets. A very weird way to put this as like the intro. Maybe he changes it. I don't know.
A Saturday morning cartoon. On that same note, the game's art direction was led by artist Rodney Greenblatt.
No, this
The
is
whole
just
thing
rhythm
has this
gaming,
paper book
not
aesthetic with
console.
two-dimensional
This is just
characters.
rhythm
The game's
gaming,
music, on
like
the other hand,
worldwide
was done
rhythm
by
gaming.
Masaya Matsuura, an active musician in the 1980s J-pop scene. In the late 90s, though, he got involved with composing music for games, and his most famous work was with the Parappa series. If you're an epic gamer from the 90s, you probably already know the opening level's song, Chop Chop Master Onion's Rap. It's a great first level where the game teaches you how it works. The master will rap a line, then you mimic it back using the same button presses. If you don't repeat the line well enough, the track
Hey, Andy.
starts
How you
breaking
doing, buddy?
down with squeaks and squawks until you just fail the level. But if you add your own little something something in a way the game likes,
Freestyle.
then you ascend into cool territory where you
This is
freestyle
using like
for
the
as long as
HD
you
one,
can.
isn't it? Just
Though,
for
as a
better
kid,
footage.
I found that the way the game likes is mashing buttons like a lunatic. Oh, and if you were on TikTok in 2021, then you know the game from this.
All right, we're here, just sitting in the car. I want you to show me if you can get far. Step on the gas. Step on the gas.
Yeah.
Step on the brakes.
Both of these
On the
songs are
brakes.
great, and Prince Flea Swallow exists, but my favorite has always been Cheep Cheep the Cooking Chicken's Rap.
Oh
There's
god, I
something
remember
about that
watching
chill
you.
sax line
Was it
that's
you that was
so
just like
solid.
getting so angry playing this game? Yeah.
Parappa the Rapper is a certified classic, and a great kickoff
Hey, that
to an
bitch.
entire
Yeah, man.
genre.
It's all yours. Ah, this is life.
Taking a shit. Lol.
Now that a young dog had changed the rap game, the video game industry started toying with this
no, that
newfangled
sucks, man.
thing called music. The biggest developer in the genre at this time was Konami, developer of many classic games and their pachinko machines. The first title by their
Pachinko.
games and music division was 1997's
The good old
Beat
days,
Mania
yeah.
in arcades. This game was inspired by DJs and nightclubs, and in turn,
Us
it's
sat
controlled
on the
with a
same
big old
couch
DJ
right next to
turntable.
each
It was a
other in
huge
your
hit in
small
arcades,
little
and it
living room in
inspired
your old
Konami
place.
to change the studio's name to B-Mani. The series has been basically locked to Japan ever since, but a few games in the series have made their way to the US, such as a PS2 edition in 2006. There was also Guitar Freaks in 1999,
Yes!
although these days it's called Guitadora. It's the same style as Beatmania, but instead of a DJ turntable, you use a guitar controller. Or if hitting things with sticks was more your speed, there was always Drummania. Weirdly enough, both series were essentially non-existent in the US, aside from one game in 2007. Apparently, developers and arcade owners in the States didn't see much potential in a game with a guitar-shaped or drum-shaped controller. But what if you didn't want instruments? What if you wanted to pound
God, look at
buttons with
Japan's.
hands? Poppin' Music in 1998
Yeah, you
had
fucking
you
fag
covered.
hanging out of
Same
his
idea
mouth
as the
and
two games
everything.
before, but you hit these big colorful buttons. Plus, the game has a very family-friendly art style. This game looks so easy. This game looks so easy, but without a doubt, Konami's most significant
Screw those
hidden game
games.
was
Not that I wouldn't try
1998's
one. That'd be
Dance
sick.
Dance Revolution. Again, you
Yes.
hitting buttons in time with the
Everyone
rhythm of the
played
song,
these.
but DDR had a dance stage with 4 big arrows. DDR became an utter phenomenon when it released in Japanese arcades, and it inspired a PS1 port in 1999. That same year saw the first DDR arcade cabinet come to the States, but the PS1 game wouldn't release here until 2001. Now this is where we see a really fun game of supply and demand play out. Prior to the US cabinet's release, arcades had to illegally import Japanese cabinets. Once there
Oh.
was an arcade cabinet in the States, all well and good. But what if there wasn't
Oh,
an
look at that,
arcade
one
near
person,
you
two
and
players.
you
Well,
wanted
like,
that
they use
PS1
all-
game? And let's say you got it
When you see
somehow.
people do it, that's
How would you
crazy.
get the pad? What, are you just going to play with the regular controller like a Satanist? Well, around this time, one company started filling that niche with their own DDR pads. That company was Red Octane. And
Hey,
in a
we
few
know that
years,
name,
they became
boys.
a game publisher as they brought a similar dance game.
I'm guessing he'll
called
talk about
In the
them
Groove
later.
From arcades to consoles. Good on them for capitalizing on the market. Maybe we'll see them again sometime soon. But aside from Konami, what else was
PS1
happening in
games,
the space?
2001, 2000.
Well, let me ask you a
Now they
question. When you saw footage
literally
of
have 4
Parappa the Rapper,
PlayStations.
did you look at it and say, this game would be
Probably have
so
5
much more fun
PlayStations.
if I played as the guitarist of the band fronted by side character Katie
That's a
Tan?
lot, but what?
Generally.
PlayStation
Play's
1
got
came
the same art
out
style and gameplay as Parappa, but instead of a dog that raps, you're a
98.
sheep that shreds. The songs this time are good, though I wouldn't say any are better than Parappa's. Though what's neat is, once you beat the game, you unlock another playthrough with Parappa, and the songs
Oh, wait, yeah,
change
after the year
to match its
2000, we've had
style. I
4
like the one
gens
where
of
you nurse
PlayStation, yeah.
babies in a psychedelic hellscape. or help a pilot with multiple personalities fly the most flexible plane ever made. But for
It
my
was.
money,
Oh
the
my
best
God, it was
piece of music from
94.
this game is
We
its
were 2
opening
years
title.
old when the PS1 came out. And then PS2 came out at the beginning, at Q1 of 2000. But PS1 games were still made in
Now, let me ask you
2001, even though
another
the PS2
question.
was
When
out.
you saw footage of Parappa the Rapper earlier, did you look at it and say to yourself, this game would be so much more fun if I played as a wireframe rabbit who was separate from the Parappa universe entirely? Vib Ribbon. This was released
Never
by the
played
same
this.
company as Parappa and Lammy, and once again you're hitting buttons in time with visual prompts, but this time you're a rabbit going on its evening stroll. Cute idea, cute art style, cute game. It's at this point that I want to classify the rhythm games we've been getting, and in my mind there's two types: real-time and call and response. To illustrate my point, I'll mention two games that came out in 1999 for the Sega Dreamcast. The first game
Ooh, rhythm
is
games on the
Samba de
Dreamcast.
Amigo. The game came with two maraca controllers, and you played by shaking them at different elevations, high, low, or mid. This is what I consider a real-time rhythm game, in that you are performing the song that is being played. Yes, you are the monkey performing a techno remix of Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping. This is
Yeah,
where your
Tub
life choices
Thumping.
led you. The second game is Space Channel 5. In this one, you play as Ulala, a space journalist who has to report on an alien invasion
Oh yeah, space
while also
journalist.
fighting in it. Journalism school does not prepare you for this. Each level has you battling some enemy.
Ooh la la.
A series of movements or actions, and then you repeat what they do. It's the same style as Parappa. Even to this day, when you're playing a rhythm game, there's a high likelihood that it falls under one of these two categories. And you
Yes.
could make the claim that call and response games have a bit of a real-time element. Like, yeah, even when you're repeating a pattern, you're still pressing the buttons in real time. But my point is, it's the framing that's different.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the year 2000. Video games were rapidly
Woo!
advancing in scope and scale. There was Donald Duck going quackers, and no other examples. The next big developments in rhythm games wouldn't be seen until 2001, though. Taiko no Tatsujin was released in Japanese arcades that year. The peripheral this
Hell
time
yeah.
is a taiko drum. You hit either the center or the rim of the drum based on the color of the note. The series would eventually come stateside with a PS2 release in 2004. It
Taiko.
features many American tunes that use the taiko drum, such as Goo Goo Dolls Slide, and the Jimmy Neutron theme song, and
What the hell? As if that was on there.
since then it's seen a number of releases both in arcades and home consoles. There was also
Gitaru Man.
PS2 title developed by Ines. You play as a young boy named U1 who gets the last Gitaru from his talking
It does not
dog,
normally have a
then
taiko
turns
drum
him
part.
into Gitaru
I'm
Man,
pretty sure
a
I'm
legendary
pretty sure
hero
everyone
with the
knows
power
that.
to stand in one place and lean in the direction of the control stick. This game is more structurally involved than other
This one
rhythm
looks
games.
kind of cool. I
Each
kind of
song
want to
is
see if I can
framed
get
as
this.
a battle between you and some villain. You start with the charge phase.
I know
where
it's
you
just
gain
you
health, then
move the
alternate
stick
between attack
smoothly
and defend, where you
in the lines, but it
attack
just seems
and
that it'd just be
defend.
like
This has some
cool.
great music in it, but for my money, the best song is the legendary theme. Just listen to this.
Oh, that's a nice sounding guitar. Trombone champ. Yeah. But instead of just going up and down, you literally have to turn the stick in all directions. So way
I didn't
easier to
wanna cut
control.
any of that. God, the melody is so good. We
That's
got
such a
sequel
nice
to
song.
Parappa the Rapper on the PlayStation 2, updated graphics, more modes, new tunes, noodles.
Noodles again?
I cannot tell you how many times I played and replayed the first Burger song,
Yeah.
or the third song with the ant.
What's this? A trick with a twist. Somebody do something, call somebody and make it quick. I'm sorry, I lied. Just wanted to guide everybody through this and go with a ride.
And finally, for 2001, we got
that is a
Frequency,
pretty damn
the
good
first
song.
major game by Boston-based studio Harmonix.
Harmonix.
Harmonix was not a
Let's
game
go.
studio. Its founders were both graduates fresh out of MIT, and they wanted to create technology that would allow anyone to make music regardless of their skill level. Their
We've
first
already
project
heard from
was
Red
the Axe.
Octane and Harmonix, the two original creators of
Their
two
next
very good
project
game
was
series.
Frequency, an exclusive to the PS2. It was pitched to Microsoft for the Xbox, but their VP of game publishing said a rhythm game would never succeed without some kind of peripheral. In this game, you play as a spaceship going down a tunnel with different lanes. Each lane corresponds to a different part of the mix of a song, and by hitting the notes, you create said part. If you get all the notes right in a certain section, the part plays automatically, so then you can hop between lanes to keep the full song going. It's a very abstract
does
concept
kinda quite
for
cool.
a video game, but it also just clicks as soon as you get into the zone with it. Certainly helps that it came with a pretty eclectic soundtrack of electro dance. Critical reception was
Maybe.
quite good when
Who
it
knows?
released, but sales were not at the same level. In an oral history, Harmonix co-founder Alex Rigopoulos recalled how Sony's playtest results showed, quote, the pre-play
look at that-
interest
oh,
score
that
was the lowest
blurriness
score
from
that
the
they
footage
had ever
capture.
received for any
Ugh.
game they had taken to test, and that their post-play intent
Don't worry, that is
purchase
not
score
you
was
guys,
the
that is the
highest of
video.
any game they had taken to
I mean,
test. Which
capture
sounds like
wasn't
great
good, was
news
it?
until you realize, oh, that means no one is interested in picking up the game. Sure, they'll love it if they get their hands on it, but if they don't feel compelled to buy the game in the first place...
Actual download. Yes,
Somehow,
it did.
though,
You could
Sony
literally do
commissioned
custom.
Harmonix
That
for a
I think that was like one of the first iterations of custom, like custom songs in a game. Damn. Download your illegal track from LimeWire that none of us did we? None of us. No, of course not. And then put it in the game. That's crazy. That long ago they actually had like, when did Audio Surf release? I don't know what you're talking about, officer. Yeah, check. I mean, because I know there was customs in Guitar Hero 3 on Xbox 360 and PS3. So does that check out before or after? 2008. Okay. And GH3. Beast. ...2007. But I don't think custom online content came... like, it wasn't there straight away. It took a while for that to come in. So I think Audio Surf might have been the first.
a sequel to Frequency, 2003's Amplitude. It boasts cleaner graphics, new modes, and a soundtrack that has names that I actually recognize, like Weezer and David Bowie. Sales were a teeny bit better than Frequency.
That must have cost some money.
Not by much. But both games in what I call the characteristics of a Soundwave series got the attention of Konami, who brought in Harmonix to develop Karaoke Revolution. This one was way more successful than Frequency
a karaoke
and Amplitude,
game.
and I think the reason why is because of how easy it is to describe. If you tried to explain Frequency and Amplitude to someone on the street, you'd be pepper sprayed within an inch of your life. Karaoke Revolution? It's karaoke on your home console. That's it. Since this game used a ton of popular songs and getting master recordings was outside the budget this time, Harmonix brought in Wave Group Sound.
Wave
to record
Group.
covers.
Oh,
Karaoke
God.
Revolution
We'll
was
hear
a
back from them
success,
again.
and it inspired several sequels in the coming years, including...
Yeah, but with copyright nowadays,
But I don't want to be a spaceship.
that
or
was
a
always going to
karaoke.
fail.
I want to be loud and damage my hands. Thank you. Donkey Konga.
Oh, we know about
was
Donkey
developed by
Konga,
the team
baby.
behind Taiko Drum Master.
Everyone
and
knows
published
Donkey
by
Konga.
Nintendo in the US in 2004. It's very similar in style to the Taiko series, but instead of hitting one
Yeah, I
drum,
know. Remember when you had
two.
that fucking
The
complaint?
DK bongos. You
Like
play
on
this
stream,
by
you
hitting
he
the
used
left
to like
bongo,
fucking
the right
shouting at
bongo,
the fucking guy
both
at your
the same
door.
time or clapping. It's a fun time, and it's bolstered by some popular hits and Nintendo tunes. What's your favorite Nintendo song? Let's say our favorites on 3. 1, 2, 3. Mozart's Turkish March. But you might not get to actually hear all of
Mozart.
those songs because man, were these things loud. When I was a kid, there were 2 things my dad hated when it came to me playing video games. One was the music of Beautiful Joe, and the other was the sound of the DK bongos. Not to mention, all that slapping
were
and
loud.
clapping started to wear on your hands after like an hour. Still, fun game, and it even got 2 sequels. Weirdly enough, the longest lasting impact of these damn things wasn't them specifically, but the studio who looked at them and said, 2D platformer. They made a 2D
Hey, there you go.
platformer with the bongos called Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, and it's one of the best games Nintendo made that decade. You play as Donkey Kong bouncing around these levels trying to get your combo and score up. Then you end each group of levels in a boss fight, and some of them are duels against other Kongs. You evade their swings, and then you go... This is exactly
Oh, that would have been
Anyway,
loud.
The studio who made this went on to make some of the best Mario games ever. Speaking of Mario...
Oh no.
Now I know what you're thinking. Michael, this is a mod, like how they modded Mario into NBA Street and SSX. But I hate to be the one to break this to you. No, those were real things in real games, and this is a real DDR game where Mario dance battles Waluigi. DDR Mario Mix was
What?
released in 2005, but somehow that wasn't the biggest rhythm game of the year, because Harmonix was back on the scene with a new partner and a new series. Let's set the stage for this. Harmonix was fresh off 3 rhythm games. One sold well, but the other 2
Come
did
on,
not.
baby.
They also made
Is
a
this where it's gonna
hardcore
start?
racing game for the PS2 iToy, but that doesn't matter right now. Things were not looking good for Harmonix, as the 2 founders even considered shutting the place down. But that's when they got a call from Red Octane. Red
Yeah,
Octane
baby!
and Harmonix were already familiar with each other. Red Octane had even pitched Harmonix on a custom peripheral for Frequency, but Red Octane came to Harmonix and said something to the effect of, hey, there's this guitar arcade game in Japan that's a huge deal. We know how to make peripherals, you know how to make rhythm games.
Wishy-washy,
Let's
man.
do something. They realized they had a lot working against them. A few examples: peripheral-based games had never sold well in the US, rhythm games had never sold well in the US, Red Octane hadn't published many games, Harmonix was known for games that sold poorly, the game would come as a bundle with the guitar controller, which meant it would not only be more expensive than other games, but it would take up more space on shelves. But even with all that against them, plus a budget of only $2 million and a deadline of the 2005 holiday season, they still pulled the trigger. On November 8th, 2005, we got Guitar Hero.
Yes, baby.
So your virtual
Guitar
avatar
Hero
is
1.
up on stage with your band, and your job is to play this thing damn well. Each button on the controller corresponds to a colored lane on the highway. Hit the button and strum the bar at the right time, you play the note. If you don't hit the notes, you'll eventually fail the song, and then everybody up on
What a
stage
noob.
is just standing there like,
Ah, man, I'm all out of cash.
if you play a specific section perfectly, you'll build up your star power meter. Once it's able to be activated, you tilt the controller to the heavens and score extra points for a limited time. Just like
You
its
get the
Japanese
Guitar Hero to
forefather,
Guitar Hero 3.
Guitar
Remember,
Hero
I was
is
one
a
of the first
very
to score
fun
a
game.
GH3 because
Why
my
did
dad.
Guitar Hero take off in the US
'cause I
when
got my dad
Guitar
to buy it for
Freaks
me.
did not? Well, isn't it obvious? The notes in Guitar Freaks go up.
Yeah,
but in
I got Guitar Hero 1
they
and
go
2
down.
because
The
of
initial
Alex
recordings
LB.
used while the game was being play tested were done
Because
by
he had
Harmonix.
them
So
all.
when it
He
came to
got
the
them
game
all.
proper,
Because
Harmonix and
obviously
Red Octane
he was
brought
bought
back
whatever he
real good
wanted
sound to
when we
record
were younger.
vocals. And it's a pretty good soundtrack that covers a lot of bases. Black Sabbath,
And
Jimi
when he
Hendrix,
was done
Franz
playing with them and he
Ferdinand,
was on the
David
next one,
Bowie,
I'd
Queen,
borrow the
Joan
other one.
Jett. 47 main songs in total, plus 17 bonus songs, many of which were by bands featuring Harmonix members, and were master recordings. This is where I learned about the song Even Rats by the Slip, which is a favorite of mine to this day. Every part of the game oozes
God,
with
look how
genuine
bad that
love
looks,
for
though.
music. It certainly helped that Harmonix was staffed to the brim with
How
musicians. These were
wide?
people
I know
who
the
work at
capture's
Harmonix
only
by day
in
and then
4
go
by
across the
3 or
street
whatever
to
it
Tee
is,
the
it's like
Bears,
square.
rest in peace at night.
So they're trying to
The
stretch
tips
it to
that show up on the
widescreen so it
loading
looks
screens
worse.
aren't just tips for the game, they were meant to be tips for being a musician. Guitar Hero is a
Yeah,
great
probably.
game, an absolute labor of love from everyone involved. Even if this game went on to commercially fail, Harmonix and Red Octane could take pride in what they had made here.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a good thing it earned $45 million by the end of 2005.
Woo!
Guitar Hero took off
Nice.
immediately after
Very
its release.
first game.
The contract between Harmonix and Red Octane allowed for one sequel and one side game, which they got to work on very soon after Guitar Hero 1. Before touching on those games, though, I'd like to touch on the Nintendo DS's bottom screen. 2006 brought us Elite Beat Agents, a US adaptation of the 2005 Japanese DS game Osu Tatakai Wendan. Both games were developed by Inez, the studio who did Gitaru Man. You play as a group of 3 special agents who help people in dire situations by dancing to popular music. A taxi driver needs to get a pregnant woman to the hospital, cue up Avril Lavigne. A weather reporter needs to
What the
manifest
fuck?
a beautiful day for her son's birthday, time to remember the 21st night of September. An aging baseball player needs to rescue a
Oh,
young
yeah, the
fan
Guitar
from
Hero on the
clutches of a
DS that had the
primordial
4
rock
button
bowler.
thing you clip to the DS.
Throw all your hands up,
And you
yeah.
strummed.
Don't wanna be you. Each difficulty level features a different leader. The hardest
They were
difficulty has
terrible.
a trio of cheerleaders, and the final level on said difficulty destroyed my DS screen. I should have earned a degree in music performance just from beating that. This is one of my favorite rhythm games, for sure. If you have a method of playing it, I highly recommend doing so. There was also Electroplankton. In this game, you touch the fish, and the plants, and the directional arrows.
Okay.
It's a Smash Brothers stage now. But aside from those 2 twinkling stars, there was the ever-growing supernova that was Guitar Hero 2,
Yeah.
released for PS2 in November 2006 and for Xbox 360 in April 2007. There is a reason for that gap, but I'll explain it later. The gameplay is
More content on
functionally
the
the same as
360
Guitar Hero
version, like
1,
MCR's
but it's the
dead.
little differences that make for an improved experience. New
Slightly better
controllers,
FPS.
practice mode, assorted quality of life changes. The
A
360
slightly
version
different
goes a
guitar,
step
too.
further with a unique controller.
This is
a
for Guitar
restructured
Hero
set
2
list, online
on the
leaderboards,
360.
10 extra
That's
songs,
where this first
and
got
the ability
introduced.
to purchase more as DLC. The biggest difference is, of course, the soundtrack. The PS2 version rocked 40 main songs and 24 bonus tracks. The 360 version bumped those numbers up to 48 main songs, 26 bonus songs.
Yeah, of course it is.
and
That's
24
the one that you
DLC
gave me.
songs. Once again, Wave
It's
Group
now
sound
one
was
of-
brought in to record covers, but some songs
It's now my best guitar because my wireless one, the strum bars started to go. So that is now the guitar that I've gotten a lot of recent new FCs on. So yeah, it's a great guitar because it's wired as well. So great guitar, great success.
came with their master recordings. Harmonix and Red Octane had difficulty getting music.
Oh, look how much
licenses
better
for
this
Guitar
looks
Hero 1,
being in
since they
16
didn't
by
really
9
have a product
resolution.
to show. For the sequel, they not only had something to show, but something that was successful. This allowed the teams to
Don't
not
worry,
only
we are
get more
we are doing
recognizable songs, but
some
also
Clone
product
Hero
placement
after
for
this.
brands like Zildjian, Guitar Center, Orange Amps, Gibson, and others. Revisiting this game brought back so many memories.
We have to
from
do some of
playing
the,
along
maybe
with
even play
Wolf
some of
Mother's
these old
Woman,
classic
Cheap Trick
songs.
Surrender, Kansas's Carry On Wayward Son, Sweet Child of Mine, YYZ, Beast and the Harlot. They even
Oh,
did the
yeah.
meme and put Freebird in the game. And they ask you like 8 times if you actually want to do Freebird. And now,
Yep.
that one scene in Gossip Girl where Blake Lively played Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero 2
What
was
the
an even
fuck?
bigger success
It was in a
than the
TV
first
show?
game, raking in $200 million in
Woo!
revenue by the end of 2006.
200
While
million
the
in
crowds
a
were growing
year.
bigger than ever, behind the scenes, the
Let's
band
go.
had already broken up. A few months prior, in May 2006, Red Octane was purchased by Activision
Yep.
for $99.9 million.
Guitar Hero 2
And in
was
September
the
2006,
the
Harmonix
last Red
was purchased
Octane
by
game.
Viacom, or more specifically MTV Networks, for $175 million. Red Octane getting purchased first surprised me.
Yeah,
Sure,
nice.
they made the controller and they published the game, but Harmonix was the one who actually developed the game. Why did Activision go for Red Octane? Well, because they also owned the rights to the series. And the first thing Activision wanted to do was push
Buy
the
the
Guitar
rights.
Hero IP beyond just the PS2. hence why a 360 version came out months later. But before
Yeah.
these two parted ways, they came together for a nostalgia cash grab. Guitar Hero Encore Rocks the 80s was released in 2007.
Slow Ride
and it is
triggers
the
pretty
final
much
Guitar
everyone
Hero
in the
game developed by Harmonix.
rhythm game community.
Truthfully, there's not a lot to say about it. It's Guitar Hero, but with a soundtrack made
Like,
up exclusively.
It's even been a meme for like, even like the biggest like rhythm game streamers, that they'll have a donation goal or a sub goal, like to do something what we're going to do something insane. We're going to play Slow Ride on easy. Like, it was just such a meme. But originally, yes, Slow Ride, Foghat, they actually have other songs that are actually good. That I would say, like one or two of them, I think are actually slightly better than Slow Ride. But Slow Ride is iconic. But it's the Nickelback rock star of rhythm gaming. It's so overplayed, everyone fucking hates it when they hear it now, even though it's actually not that bad of a song.
Of 80 songs. Red Octane had announced after Guitar Hero 2
It's not good
that
enough
they were
for GH,
interested
it's
in
not
doing
good.
games centered around one artist or one genre. There was a chance. Alas, critics were underwhelmed. Centered around one artist or one genre. There was a
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if that came out? Because Crazy Frog had one hell of a boom. I mean, this is like sort of foreseeing the future of not Guitar Hero specifically, but Rock Band. I'm guessing they'll probably talk about Rock Band because it's the precursor, what came after with more peripherals and stuff like that. But holy shit. Yeah, there was Aerosmith and Beatles. But Rock Band did it worse.
a chance. Alas, critics were underwhelmed with the smaller set list and the lack of any quality of life tweaks from Guitar Hero 2. On the other hand, though, it does have Because It's Midnight from Limousine.
Limousine, one of the hardest songs that only got FC'd not that long, like, I think it was the last song on this game to get FC'd.
Alex Rogopoulos, you are a man of class and taste. The stage was
And
getting
this,
ready for the
Trogdor.
battle of the bands, but before that, I want to quickly mention jam sessions for the DS. It skirts the line
I do
between
have an
rhythm
FC
games
on.
and full-blown handheld guitar
FC'd it
simulator.
on
There
stream.
are clips online of people playing shows with this game.
It's also responsible for one of the best video game commercials ever made. Just look at this.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to
Wait, why does it sound like it's going to be Australian?
Happy birthday, dear Hudson.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! What the f*** is this? F***ing sponge cake!
Fucking sponge cake.
But enough of that. In late October 2007,
God.
we got Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. This one was developed by...
Bro, please do your research. Because this...
We got Guitar Hero 3...
Wait, oh no, didn't they change one of the intros? No, this isn't the intro. This isn't the intro to 3. This is, Wait, no, or is it? I've not seen the original intro for 3 in way too many years. Maybe it is.
Legends of Rock. This one was developed by
Was that the
Neversoft,
intro to
the
3?
developer best known for the Tony Hawk.
Yeah, no, they've
skateboarding
got Highway
games.
Star
These
for
are
Rock Band.
basically the same thing. It is effectively
first
more
one.
Guitar Hero, but the biggest difference to me was in its presentation. Guitar Hero 3 really leaned into classic rock signifiers and decor.
I don't know why, randomly I just saw
real rock stars
Warriors
like
of
Tom
Rock,
Morello and
but Warriors of
Slash,
Rock had
and
the
at
god
core of
and
it all was
the
a
devil
73
battle
song
thing.
soundtrack,
It's because it was
most
on the
which
top
were
of a
master
mountain and
recordings spread across a solo and co-op career mode. This game introduced me to some of my favorite songs at the time. The Strokes'
AFI
Victoria,
Miss Murder.
Block Party's Helicopter, Pearl Jam's Even Flow, The Killers' When You Were Young, Eric Johnson's Cliffs of Dover. It very much is the
Yes.
nostalgia kicking in, but I think this is the series' best set list. Though I
Yep.
will say, it was also around this time
Although
that
a
I
lot of people
noticed
actually
how
say
the
it's not.
male lead singer can somehow do flawless imitations of Eddie Vedder, Kelly Okereke, Billy Corgan, Mick Jagger, and Jack Black. But of course, if
The
you know
metal,
this game,
baby.
then there's one song you most likely remember.
Ah,
Once you beat the game's solo
True.
career mode, you unlock it.
through the fire and the flames.
Gaming has had several great challenges in its history. That one Battletoads level, Dark Souls, Cuphead. Guitar Hero's equivalent was playing Dragon Forces through the fire and flames on expert difficulty. A full-on cottage industry sprung up from this song. Viral videos
man.
of people 100%ing it. And
That
when
was
just
not a
beating it
100%
became
video,
passe,
that was
people
just
would
the
do it
highest
on
score.
125%
That was like a
speed,
98%.
or blindfolded, or with a toy guitar that is separate from Guitar Hero entirely. I will be honest, I tried doing this once as a kid, and I failed the song in about 5 seconds. I never attempted it again. That's okay.
How far did we
I'm
get through
okay
this run
with it.
playing
Guitar
together?
Hero 3 was a huge success. It was the first retail game to earn over $1 billion, according to Activision CEO in 2009. I'm
trying to remember, 'cause it was-
the king
I think
of
you
the
on the strum bar, me on the buttons, because you were like really
Just
fast
a
at
week
strumming.
or so after Guitar Hero 3, we got
we
Harmonix's
both played
new
it together.
series, Rock Band. Have you ever been to a concert, seen the musicians on stage, and said to yourself,
They got a hi-hat in on this?
Rock Band's greatest innovation is right in the title. Instead of just having guitar, you can now
Band.
choose from 4 instruments: guitar, bass, vocals, and drums.
One thing I
This
will
also
be
meant you
doing
could have
is I
4
will be
people
investing
playing
in
at once.
something to
This
play
was
Clone Hero
Rock Band's
drums.
biggest
I
value
will be
prop,
doing drum
a
streams.
great music
100%.
party experience. The other big value add to me personally was that the game just felt more modern. The branding of the series struck me as being so 2007. Plus, the new instruments, which came as part of a bundle with the game, looked clean and professional. The guitars especially, they look less like toys since the fret colors
I loved
are well
mine.
hidden. That modernity extended to the 45-song bass
If I could get
soundtrack.
another one,
There
I
was a
would
little
probably
overlap
do
with
it.
Guitar Hero 3, plus a number of rock classics unique to the game, but songs from the likes of OK Go and Fall Out Boy really just spoke to middle school me. Critical reception was quite high, as was a total revenue
Oh,
of
I did that with my
$600 million
drum pedals all the
by
time.
early October
We filled
2008.
mine, which was the
Though,
permanent fix,
Viacom
with
apparently
fiberglass.
didn't make a
My dad
profit on
literally
the
got
game
some
due to
fiberglass
the
and
high
filled
cost
the
of
pedal
making
so
the
it's super
periphery.
heavy.
Still a huge cultural
And that
and
broke
critical
the bass
success, though.
because
This
the
was
pedal was so
arguably
heavy.
The video game rivalry
So we put
of the late 2000s.
fiberglass in the
one
bass,
corner was
so the whole
Goliath,
thing was just
now
like
with the
basically
backing of a
fiberglass.
multi-million-dollar company.
That was awesome.
In another corner was David, except David had previously developed Goliath and was also backed by a multi-million-dollar company. Regardless of which game you had, there was no denying rhythm games were the next big thing in gaming. So where do you go from here? Okay. Listen.
No.
Listen. I'm going to defend this game a bit. Wii
No.
Music was Nintendo's 2008 Wii branded effort to get in on the music game craze. And as far as efforts go, there was music and a game, I think. You can play along with the hottest songs by Nintendo in the public domain. You can play bells. You can conduct. The game's whole approach was to let you play songs how you wanted to play them. If you wanted to follow along with the real song, you could, but you could also just be yourself. People at the time did not like being themselves. But despite the negative critical reception, I like the idea of Wii Music. The freeform nature and the fact that there is no failure in this space, you can mess around as much as you want, and the game will still be like, this is the first step towards the rest of your life. It was a nice alternative to the growing emphasis in rhythm games on sheer technical mastery, and it was a reminder that music is supposed to be, like, fun. Man, I know for some people, learning a difficult track inside and out until you can play it blindfolded
look at
with
that
your
Guitar
feet
Hero
using a
5
modded
controller.
Power Glove is fun and rewarding. I just want there to be options on both ends of the spectrum. If you want to stun on people, go for it. If you want to do the Legend of Zelda theme with banjo, cheerleader, dog, and cat, then do that too. These are both valid. Also, the game's got a great main theme.
Fun.
Come on, how you gonna hate on that? 2008 also brought us Audio Surf.
There we
Ride
go.
your
Told
music.
ya.
I've tried. There's two neat things about Audio Surf. First is how the gameplay works. You ride on these tracks, catching colored bars in 3 different columns.
Yes.
The goal is to line up bars of the same color close together for maximum
go.
points. The second neat thing is that you can play with any song in your computer's music library. The game
That's-
auto-generates a track for every song, and from my own experience, the tracks are okay. They're fine. It's a fun game. If column-type gameplay is your thing and you want it on your phone, may I introduce you to Tap Tap Revenge.
Revenge.
It's the
I
same
had this
idea
on
as
my
Guitar
phone
Hero, but with
for
3
fucking
columns to
years,
tap.
dude.
I remember having this game on my original iPod Touch, along
Yep.
with Crash Bandicoot Nitro Kart 3D and Coldplay's Viva La Vida. Fun times. As another quick aside, I also want to mention Korg DS10. Like Jam Sessions, it's less a rhythm game and more an outright synthesizer made by Korg for the DS. I just think it's wild that they built this for a handheld game
Yeah, you
system.
should just put your fingers to that and be like,
Yeah. Raindrops. Drop top. Smoking a hookah in the hot box.
But hey, we're still deep into Guitar Hero and Rock Band gripping the market. Though the companies involved were starting to run into a problem.
Hey,
Rhythm
Sharky,
games
how you
were
doing?
raking in a ton of revenue, and that is in part due to them being popular. But the other big reason is that you had to buy the instruments in order to get the full experience, which was boosting the amount a customer had to pay beyond the usual $50 or $60. So you buy Rock Band and you get all the necessary controllers. That's amazing. I'm so
cover the
happy
weird
for you.
thing, then
But
why
for
not
any
Music
future
2000
games,
PS1?
you don't need to get the
Basically a
controllers
DAW
anymore.
to produce
A
music.
customer buys into the cult of Rock Band at
The fuck is this?
$169.99, but
The
any
wild
future game
world of
purchases
rhythm games.
would be capped at $50 or $60. So how do you counteract?
Oh
a
my God,
guaranteed
another one.
Would be
Rock Band Gummy Bear. Oh no, that was just as bad as Guitar Hero fucking Axel F. And I'm a gummy bear. Hang on, do I still have it? Yeah, I'm a gummy bear. Yeah, I'm a gummy bear.
capped at $50 or $60. So how do you counteract a guaranteed decline in revenue? Make a bunch of games.
Ah. Gummy, 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 gummy. Hang on. So, Guitar Hero 1, 2005. All hell data plan with 50 gig of data. Hell yeah, I just have unlimited. I was like, fuck it. Guitar Hero 2, 2006, 2007. And Rock the 80s. So Guitar Hero 3, Rock Band, and Guitar Hero 3 Mobile? Yeah. Since what? And I've been in the, yeah, it had to be. Holy shit. I did not know that. I'm going to do a little bit of research on that. But so that's October to December in 2007. To be fair, Harmonix, Activision, two separate companies battling for this place. So freeze. There we go. Guitar Hero on tour. There we go. That's what you were talking about for the DS. Aerosmith, which wasn't a terrible game. World Tour. That's where I got my first experience of playing the drums. Are you I'm trying to I think I know what phone you're talking about. I would have said it was the Sidekick, but I think that was only a keypad, like a QWERTY keypad. Yeah, it slid. Yeah, the Sidekick, but I think a lot of people made different versions. Oh my
The great
god.
thing about this era is that I don't really need to get into explaining what every single game was, because most of them will just tell you what they are in the title. For example, the first Guitar
Yeah,
Hero
man,
game
you
of
said.
2008 was Guitar Hero Aerosmith. It's Guitar Hero.
Yeah, you said
but
in
with
the
Aerosmith.
last
The first
stream.
title
It's
in the
like because
series
I've got
focused on one
a
specific
purple
game.
lavender phone
Then
as well.
We got Guitar Hero on tour for the original DS and DS Lite. This game came with a guitar grip that plugged into the system's Game Boy Advance port. From there, Yeah, it's Guitar Hero on the DS. You strum using the included pick stylus. There's only 4 fret buttons instead of 5. One day a doctor will diagnose me with arthritis entirely because I played this game as a kid. But other than that, it's Guitar Hero on the DS. We even got
Sony
an
Xperia.
On-Tour sequel that same year with On Tour Decades. It's the same kind of game, but with a soundtrack based on decades, starting with modern songs and ending at the 1970s. Oh, and this year saw the continuation of Guitar Hero Mobile, which had released in December 2007. It's Guitar Hero on mobile phones. I'm talking like Motorola phones. But the main event this year was the release of both Rock Band 2 and Guitar Hero 4, subtitled World Tour. Rock Band 2 is Rock Band with more and made better. For starters, the game bundle came with improved controllers. It also added a drum trainer mode. They must have noticed the praise of the past game's drumming and said, hell yeah, we'll teach America's youth. A Battle of the Bands mode where you competed with other bands by uploading your best scores for songs. And of course, a new 84-song set list. But as a bonus, if you had Rock Band 1, you could import most of the songs from 1 into 2 for a small price. One fun note about the soundtrack, Shackler's Revenge from Guns N' Roses' long-delayed Chinese Democracy.
Oh man, that album was
and it was the first sign
so delayed.
That the album was finally releasing that same year. Could you imagine?
Yeah, that was like, what, 15 years delayed or something? Like, that was meant to come out in like the late 90s, that song. This album. I just remember it being so hyped up because of how long it was delayed for.
Imagine an album being teased in any other game.
Huh?
Wait, that's how you're announcing? So with Rock Band 2 raising the bar for rhythm games, how would the first Guitar Hero in a post-Rock Band world match it?
That's what you get
By
when you
copying
let
the
your
bar
heart
outright.
win.
That's right, Guitar Hero World Tour added bass, vocals, and drums to simulate the full band experience. That meant new controllers for bass, vocals,
but
and drums.
5-pad
In a very
drums.
consumer-friendly move, though, the peripherals for both games were compatible with other games. I imagine keeping them locked to their specific game would have only drawn out the bloodshed. While the new instruments are the biggest change, I also felt like this game had a more current soundtrack when compared to the past 3 Guitar Hero games. Sure, you've got your typical rock classics, but you've also got Coldplay, Paramore, Blink-182, Interpol, Silversun pickups. Plus, for the first time, all of the songs were master recordings. Though, in case you're curious, Wave Group Sound did still work on any bonus or DLC tracks when they couldn't get the masters. There was a band tour mode that mimicked Rock Band's tour mode, though critics found Guitar Hero's band tour mode to be weaker than Rock Band's tour mode. You could also make your own tunes with the music studio and share them via Guitar Hero Tunes. To be honest,
they were so bad.
And I just
you could never make a song sound good on that.
But hey, no matter how much they added or altered, the simple act of getting friends together to make pretend music was still incredibly enjoyable. In fact, whether you got World Tour or Rock Band 2, you were gonna have a good time. Though now, what's the reason to get one over the other? You picked one because, what, it had a specific song you liked or you wanted a specific feature? I personally stayed on the Guitar Hero side because of brand recognition. This isn't a Rock Band household, it's a Rock Band household! Guitar Hero also happened to be the sales victor this time, selling 3.4 million copies through the end of 2008 versus Rock Band 2's 1.7 million. By this point, the 2 series were cultural touchstones. Celebrities were starring in ads doing the risky business dance, TV shows were parodying it, musicians were commenting on the games, or at the very least, the money they were making from their songs being in the games. More and more musicians were making EA Sports and being in the game themselves, like Ozzy Osbourne.
Like, there's literally a video. What's pretty much the most famous song in Guitar Hero history? Through the Fire and the Flames. How much did Dragon Force make from the entire life history of that song blowing up their band into like a more mainstream way? About $1,000. That's what they were paid. Obviously, other things have come from that. More listens, more album, more fans. But the actual money from Guitar Hero was like, I think like about $1,000 or $1,100. That's it.
Sting, Hayley Williams, Travis Barker. But not every musician was thrilled about Guitar Hero and Rock Band. Jack White felt that video games weren't a good way to introduce music to new fans, while Prince, John Mayer, and Jimmy Page thought that
Prince.
it cheapened the act of actually learning the guitar. And sure,
No.
no one is gonna play Guitar Hero and then immediately become Steve Vai. But in my opinion, these games were
but it's a
great
good way to get
gateway
people in
to
the- in-
finding a new favorite song or artist. Then that could get someone inspired to take up
Like,
their
I started
instrument
playing
and
the
learn how
drums
they
because
did
of
it. And
these
if World
games.
Tour and Rock Band 2 didn't
And now I
convince people
can
of
actually
that,
play the
the
actual
two
drums.
series
What are you
would get
talking
a lot
about?
more chances to do it. Guitar
It doesn't
Hero
allow
Smash
people to
Hits
play
was
the
the
real
first
thing.
Guitar Hero game of
Yeah, it does.
2009, a best of compilation from the rest of the
Drums
series.
is more
It's cool
realistic
to
than
hear
the
all of
guitar.
these songs
The
with their
guitar
master
just
recordings
helps you
since
with
the first few games
hand-eye
were mostly
coordination.
covers. Why was this a full price game though? Why was this a full price game though? Guitar Hero on Tour Modern Hits. It's Guitar Hero on tour, but with modern hits. You guys, I'm really trying here. Guitar Hero Metallica was Guitar Hero with
Yes.
Metallica. Its biggest gameplay innovation was a second kick pedal so that you could really feel like Lars Ulrich. It was also neat because
Ulrich,
Metallica's then
but
upcoming
okay,
album,
mate.
Death Magnetic, was added as paid DLC not just to this game, but also Guitar Hero World Tour and Guitar Hero 3. This was a very nice gesture, but it also ties into something very funny. Okay, so if you know the record Death Magnetic, you might already know that it is infamous for being loud, very compressed. People wanted a way to listen to this album without feeling like a brick of sound was being shoved into their ears. And you know where they could do that? In Guitar Hero. The stems used for Guitar Hero did not have the same loudness issues. So somehow, buying the DLC and playing the tracks in-game was a better method of listening to Death Magnetic than actually listening to the album.
Nice.
Amazing. Death Magnetic was also available to play in Guitar Hero 5, which was released in September 2009. Once again, you could play one of 4 instruments, but this time you could make a band of any combination of instruments. Finally, what the people wanted, a bass quartet performing A-Punk. Plus, anyone could drop in and drop out during any part of a song. A great idea that made this even more suited for parties. The soundtrack was fine, though it went even more modern than World Tour. The game's project director, Brian Bright, noted that more than 50% of its 85-song soundtrack came from the past decade. If you weren't a fan of 5's soundtrack, though, you could import the majority of songs from World Tour for no extra cost, plus tracks from other games for a small fee. Guitar Hero 5 also featured a ton of cameos by musicians. Artists
Santana.
like Carlos Santana, Johnny Cash, Shirley Manson, and even Kurt Cobain. Which gets us to talking about a little issue this game had. So Kurt was an avatar in the game, purchasable through a character pack. You could have him sing Nirvana songs, but you could also have him sing
Kung Fu fighting. Yep. This is a very famous clip.
not Nirvana songs. Some people found it in poor taste to have Kurt Cobain, a famously not alive person, singing YMCA or You Give Love a Bad Name. It doesn't help that some of those people were the owners of Nirvana's estate. Guitar Hero 5 was pretty well received by critics, and it sold well, but less than 50% of Guitar Hero 4. But alas, that's not how the Guitar Hero series ended its 2009. Or rather, that's not how the Hero series ended its 2009.
Oh,
DJ
no.
Hero released a month later in October 2009. It boasted a new genre, electronic dance music, and a new turntable peripheral. History doesn't repeat, it just rhymes. This one was a great time. I got it for the Wii ages ago, and it's such a fun simulacrum of being a real DJ. The mixes were excellent. Marvin Gaye and Gorillaz, Queen and Daft Punk, Dizzy Rascal and Justice. It really bums me out that there's no official way to listen to most of these mixes. Despite its quality though, DJ Hero was the first real sign that something in the rhythm game kingdom was amiss. Most reports had the game selling under half of Activision's projections. Some time
It was
away
just a
from the
bad
series
game.
would do Activision some good. And as soon as I finished that sentence, look what we got. Band Hero came out in November 2009. It comes with a soundtrack filled with mainstream pop songs. We're talking Jesse McCartney, Janet Jackson, Taylor Swift, Corinne Bailey Rae, Maroon 5. Otherwise, it's Guitar Hero 5. I don't know, I guess this makes for a more accessible party game if more people are aware of the songs. And so, finally, the Hero series ended its 2009. Are you kidding me? Guitar Hero Van Halen released in December 2009.
Not a bad set list.
It's Guitar Hero, but with Van Halen, even though some of its members are inexplicably missing. Speaking of missing, some features from Guitar Hero 5 weren't in this for some reason. it didn't review or sell that well. By comparison, the Rock Band series really kept it laid back this year. We got Rock Band Unplugged for the PSP. Don't worry, this one does not come with a Rock Band grip or anything. It's Rock Band, but in the style of Frequency or Amplitude. It's neat to see Harmonix combining a gameplay style that was well reviewed with a brand and soundtrack that would actually sell. There was no mainline numbered entry this year, though we did get something that was arguably even bigger. The Beatles Rock Band. MTV had already been talking with members of the Beatles family before Rock Band 1 even came out, and after years of talks, we got a full-on Beatles music game which released alongside the 2009 remasters of all of their albums. This is the best band-specific game from either series, in my opinion, because, well, I'm biased as a fan, but it's got the most to work with. It covers the band's full history, it's got great visuals, new controllers made in homage to the Beatles instruments. The only real bummer is
the
that,
guitars
unlike other
were pretty
entries,
cool.
the songs and avatars from this game couldn't be transferred to other Rock Band games. Apple Corps deprived us of seeing Paul McCartney sing Misery Business. Shockingly though, the Beatles Rock Band was also considered a sales disappointment. It launched the same month as Guitar Hero 5, and while it sold over 500,000 copies in the first month in the US, analysts had projected way more. If the Beatles can't save your genre, I don't know what else could. Oh, thank goodness! Finally, there was Lego Rock Band. This one boasts a very family-friendly soundtrack. It's the first game in the series to start choking hazards.
2009 did not just belong to the heavyweights, though. We also saw the debuts of 2 new series.
Rhythm Heaven is another rhythm game on the DS, and it is my heaven. The gameplay is built around tapping, holding, or flicking the stylus, and the scenarios are wild. You punch flower pots and barrels, you ram dumplings down your throat, you see footage of me in high school choir. As far as I'm concerned, this is a rhythm game classic. But don't take my word for it, just ask Beyonce. Look, all I'm saying, here's a graph of the Metacritic ratings for each Beyonce album. And here's when she played Rhythm Heaven. 2009 also saw the first entry in the Just Dance series. It was a fleshed out version of a mini game from Rayman Raving Rabbids TV Party where you dance to popular songs in sync with an avatar.
And this is
reviewed
strong
terribly,
today
but,
still,
God,
especially
did it
amongst
sell
female
well.
streamers.
It also has lore.
It's great for views.
I don't have time to get into it, but I'm just letting you know for your own safety. 2010 was a much quieter year for both Guitar Hero and Rock Band. To start, we only got 2 hero games.
Warriors
Guitar Hero,
of Rock.
Warriors of Rock came out in September. This one seemed to be an effort to refocus on the series' OG fans, with a return to the visual
introduction
aesthetics
of more
Guitar
than
Hero
5
1 and 2.
stars.
The story mode has you recruiting Warriors of Rock to defeat the Beast, and each warrior has a transformation that can help you in the game. The 93-song soundtrack also pivoted back hard.
That was a
to the
big
classic
playlist,
rock,
to be fair.
metal, and punk of the first games. Say what you will, but it's pretty neat to
Raving
see the series
Rabbids was
go from
fucking
Killer
best.
Queen cover in the first game to Bohemian Rhapsody master recording in this game. The 2 most noteworthy songs used were the full 2112 suite by Rush and a new song by Megadeth recorded specifically for this game. Even still, the rest of it was just Guitar Hero.
The people probably that don't play rhythm games are looking at this like, holy shit, and I'm like, warm-up song.
October 2010, again, more DJ Hero, and it sold even worse than the first game. On the Rock Band side, there was Rock Band
Green Day.
It's Rock Band, but for Green Day. One analyst reported that it only sold 82,000 copies in the US within its release month. And then there was Rock Band 3 later in the year. It added keyboards as a...
Rock Band 3. Introduction of keys. But also didn't mind it. That's where I got my my last Guitar Hero Rock Band controller from, the white black. Not the black and white, the white and black. The white body guitar that I used to have. The last Rock Band guitar that I used on stream. That was Rock Band 3. But also my favorite guitar from the next one.
The playable instruments, and it featured a new Pro mode, meaning you could plug in certain real guitars and keyboards to get an even more accurate playing experience. The keyboard itself for the game is usable as a legit MIDI keyboard,
yep.
which is pretty neat. Reviews were arguably the best the series had ever seen, but sales were not great. However, that same month, Harmonix also released something new, a bold take on a growing trend. and it all started with home surveillance. Dance Central, released in late 2010, it was Harmonix's attempt to mash up Just Dance with the Xbox's new motion camera, the Kinect. I personally can't tell you how it was to play, as I did not have it, but it sold 2.5 million copies and was considered far and away the best Kinect launch title.
Holy
Not that
shit.
it had much competition. It spawned a few more sequels in the coming years, and that just about does it for Harmonix and Red Octane's torrential reign over gaming.
Rock Band
Just
4.
to make sure you understand, that was 19 games. 19 games that were released under the Blank Hero or Rock Band umbrella that were released between 2008 and 2010. And when you consider that many of these games were being released back to back to back, it's pretty easy to see why the rhythm game craze
No,
turned
there's
into
nothing
an
mentioned about
overbearing
Sonic
fad.
Riders.
It's also worth noting that, aside from the deluge of rhythm games, the period between 2008 and 2010 is also famous for having a recession. Many people were cutting back on their spending. Some people couldn't afford a $50 or $60 game, let alone
I don't know why.
Nearly triple that. Heck, the UK Office for National Statistics used Guitar Hero and Rock Band as a measure of how consumer spending changed in that period. It says a lot when your game is being used as an economic metric for a recession. The nails in the coffin came throughout 2010. In December, Viacom sold Harmonix for a reported $50. Not 50 million, not 50,000, $50. Now that number comes with some caveats because Harmonix was still holding on to all of their debt and Viacom got to use the sale as a tax write-off, but as a symbol
Harmonix sold for $50. I could have bought Harmonix. Literally, I bet you wish you snapped up. 25 each. Let's go. I'd have bought them. Imagine just being like, oh yeah, I own Harmonix.
of where the rhythm game genre had gotten to, man, that's kinda sad. As for Red Octane, they were closed by Activision back in February 2010.
yeah.
Neversoft at least got to make some Call of Duty games before it too was shuttered in 2014. Oh, and Wave Group Sound is Facebook's in-house sound design team now.
Now, the way this part of the story is unfolding, you might think that rhythm games as a whole died after this. And look, they certainly have not reached the same heights, that's obvious.
But there have been quite a few games that have kept this genre going, if not innovating on it outright. And in 2015, no two examples shined brighter than Why Can I Not?
No. Rock Band 4.
Guitar Hero Live was released in 2015.
Right. Guitar Hero Live, biggest fucking flop. Like, of all history. Yes, I owned it. But Rock Band 4, one, that's where I got the limited edition Fender Jaguar from the Rock Band 4 Rivals expansion, which came even later after these. Like the final nail in the coffin. Rock Band 4 Rivals expansion. And Rock Band 4 on the PS4 was where I started streaming. I streamed for the very first time to YouTube from my PlayStation 4, playing Rock Band 4 really fucking badly. Literally, that is where my streaming and YouTube and everything, my online stuff, and the name all stemmed from that game. So it holds a way deeper part of me, Rock Band 4, than any other game.
And developed by Freestyle Games, the same people who made the two DJ Hero games.
Massively.
So what does this Guitar Hero bring to the table?
6 buttons.
Realism. First, there was a new controller. Instead of 5 single buttons, there were 6 buttons divided among 2 rows.
Black, 3, white.
Notes in the game were color-coded black or white, which denoted which row and button to press. Before you ask, yes, this meant the controller could not be used with past games, and old controllers could not be used with this game. Second, instead of the old avatars, the visuals were either full motion video or the song's music video. I don't know. The full motion video
could be considered more immersive, and I could be
I
biased
kind of
by
want to get one
nostalgia,
though,
but there
so
was
I
a
can play
charm to
the
series'
the
motion
new
captured
remaster,
avatars.
Guitar Hero Live
feels like I'm
remaster.
in a mediocre karaoke
Apparently it's actually
bar,
pretty good.
but for guitarists. I mean, they're still using master recordings, right? But the vocalists who are singing in the game aren't the vocalists who actually sing the songs. What the hell did you do with Maddie Healy, you assholes? The soundtrack this time had only
Big
42
fat
songs on the
phony.
disc, and man did it lean on modern songs. Some artists like Arctic Monkeys and Jack White made perfect sense being here, but Rihanna? Imagine Dragons? Skrillex? There's also the matter of how the game added new songs. You see, you couldn't buy songs to play this time. Instead, you had Guitar Hero TV, a streaming service that allowed you to jump into songs
And with
that
the
were on
music
rotation.
videos.
Imagine if you were watching MTV back in the day and you could just press a button to start playing along. Apparently,
Skrillex
this
did
made
go hard, to be
licensing
fair.
rights a lot easier and cheaper to get. Cool. I'm just confused by this whole game, and other consumers were too. While Activision never revealed sales numbers, they did say in an earnings call that it missed sales expectations.
Oh,
It
yeah,
missed
it
them
did.
enough to have 50 Freestyle Games employees laid off, and for this to be, as of now, the last Guitar Hero game released. I never thought I'd be excited to say this, but in comparison, Rock Band 4 is just more Rock Band. Harmonix was back as developer and publisher, but the peripherals this time were made by Mad Catz. Though of course there was
Yep.
backwards
Mad
compatibility
Catz
for both
actually make
peripherals
good
and
instruments.
songs. In fact, the most amazing thing about this game is how well supported it's been when it comes to DLC. They are still releasing songs for this game. Just a few weeks ago, they added Nicki Minaj's Super Freaky Girl. What the hell? Critical reception was pretty high, but sales were a fraction of the third game's. Mad Catz even went bankrupt, in part due to the underperformance of this game. Even though they're back from the dead now, the series would get one last chance in 2017 with Rock Band VR. It's a VR version of Rock Band. I've never played it, I can't speak to it, reviews were okay, and that was it. I will mention one last piece of Guitar Hero's legacy because that game specifically does live on in two ways. First is Clone Hero. As the title implies, it's a free clone of Guitar Hero,
but
where
now
songs
they're
and
actually
roadmaps
fucking-
are uploaded by users. There are some wild things you can do.
Yeah,
in this
let's go,
game, and
Asai.
The community for it is still very strong. There's also
Clone
Guitar
Hero.
World.
I was gonna say please and definitive edition. I was gonna hope because this was only this video is only 12 days old. So I was like, he has to say something about the modern scene that's currently around. World Tour Definitive.
Tour Definitive Edition, a community mod released in 2021, which continues to be updated to this day. I bring this up because one of the features of this mod is skins for the avatars that show up when you're playing. So, I don't know, this is just kind of off the top of my head, but you could have, for instance, John Wick on vocals, Walter White on bass, Saul Goodman on drums, and I don't know, like Yellow Among Us Drip on guitar. Just an idea, just a possibility. Okay, we are actually free from Rock Band and Guitar Hero now. Like I mentioned before, there have been plenty of great rhythm games released since the genre's heyday, and I'd like to highlight some of them now. Harmonite was a 3DS game developed by the same people who make Pokemon. It's got great art design and very forgettable music, but the Pokemon tracks they throw in are great. I would say check it out if you have a 3DS, but Nintendo shut down the 3DS's eShop earlier this year.
Yeah,
Harmonite
they
is
did.
Digital only,
Literally this year
so
they
it's
shut
no
down the
longer
eShop.
available. Rocksmith was developed by Ubisoft and released in 2011. The
Hey,
pitch of this
Chris.
is, what if Guitar Hero actually taught you how to play guitar? Along with licensed songs, there were lessons that you went through using a new, slightly more advanced guitar controller, or even a real guitar. I liked the idea of this game when it came out, though I don't know how successful it was at teaching guitar to new people. If you happen to start playing guitar because of this game, please let me know. Beat Saber is a big deal. It's a VR game where you slice blocks in time with music. I'm not a huge fan of it, but as an avid glasses needer, I'm also biased against any VR game. Samba de Amigo got a reboot on the Wii back in 2008, and it's getting another entry on the Switch later this year. Speaking of another entry on Switch, I hope we get another Rhythm Heaven at some point. There was a Wii game and a 3DS game that combined new songs with old ones from throughout the series. I would say go get that one if you're interested, but here in the US, it's no longer available for the same reason as Harmonite. But as a close alternative,
I'd say check out Melatonin. It's rhythm heaven with lo-fi beats. A lovely project, though I wish it was weirder.
Which
And I get that a
YouTube,
direct
Reddit,
comparison to a game like
that
Rhythm
kind of
Heaven
has
isn't doing
feels
any
like that would be
favors,
quite
but
cool.
in that game, you cheer a pop star on with a group of monkeys. You go on a date where you have to protect gophers from soccer balls. You shoot ghosts with arrows into a house, and when you shoot them, it goes whoa. In Melatonin, you lift weights and catch money and swipe a credit card. I don't know. I guess a more outlandish presentation would have contradicted the mellow music, so it makes sense. Still, worth a playthrough if you like Rhythm Heaven. But what about Elite Beat Agents? That hasn't seen a
Maybe we
sequel
should try
at
that,
all, and
Melatonin.
its Japanese originator only got one sequel. Would we ever see a revival of the Osu Tatakai Wendan series? Kinda. A third of it, at least. Osu
Yeah,
is
Osu,
a popular
yeah.
computer game where you click buttons like a goddamn
Can't do it. I
lunatic.
cannot.
My house to the ground! My family's dead! What do I do?
This is a game for people who played the final level of EBA at the hardest difficulty and said,
Oh, that was
"Oh,
great.
that was easy." It's the same gameplay.
You just see the hand
maps
turning the
created
keyboard.
by users. I'd love to see Nintendo look at Osu and feel inspired to make an EBA sequel, but I also feel like they'll notice that Osu's real value is the community around it and not necessarily the gameplay. Hatsune Miku's gotten a couple of rhythm games over the years. Square Enix has made a few rhythm games out of Final
Fantasy
Fantasies
VIII.
and Kingdom Hearts music. Atlas
yeah,
has done
yeah.
the same with Persona's music.
Persona.
Def Jam Rap Star was a 2010 rap karaoke game that dared to ask the question, what if we didn't get the rights to all the songs in our game? We may never have known if it wasn't for their sacrifice. Thumper is a rhythm horror game where you race a metal beetle down a racetrack and fight giant demonic skulls. Sayonara Wild Hearts has a beautiful
Ooh.
art style, a bumping
I think we've got
soundtrack,
some
and
games to
Queen
check out,
Latifah as
guys.
narrator. Rhythm Thief on the 3DS is a fun time, an escapade through Paris with an electro jazz soundtrack. Unlike Harmonite and Rhythm Heaven Megamix, this game was released physically, but it is basically unavailable. Friday Night Funkin'.
Yeah.
Imagine if someone put Parappa the Rapper and DDR together, then uploaded it to Newgrounds. That's Friday Night Funkin'. I never got into it, though I know this game and its modding scene were a huge deal. The track Fresh is great. Just Dance 2020 was a Just Dance game that came out in 2020. I wanted to mention this game specifically
Really?
because it was the last Just Dance game to come out on the Wii, a console that was launched 14 years prior. Just Dance kept coming out on the Wii, even when its successor, the Wii U, stopped getting entries. Some said it was because hospitals used the game to help
Wow.
patients build up their mobility, but a Ubisoft rep debunked that as the main reason. The real reason, as they put it, was that people just wanted it on Wii. But
Wii.
alas, the 2020 edition
The Wii was
the
just a
last one for it.
superior
The
console
most
to the
recent
Wii U.
Just Dance game was the 2023 edition. Turns out this one will be the last installment. The series will become a live service from here on out, with any new songs added via DLC. Our friends at Harmonix got to reboot Amplitude in 2016. From what I
Oh.
heard, it was as good as the first one. Harmonix's latest game was Fuser in 2020, and it's all about performing mixes and mashups at giant festivals. I'm of two minds when it comes to this game. On one hand, it packs what is possibly the most advanced mashup software ever commercially released. For real, you can take the drums, bass, vocals, and other from any included song and mash them up with any other part of any other song. Will it sound good? Probably not, but the mere fact that the game can process that on the fly, changing key and tempo, while letting you add signal processing and
Yeah,
other
I've
effects,
watched a
is
couple of
kinda
Aside's
nuts.
videos
the
on
other
it.
hand, while it amazes
It
me
looks
as a
kind of fun
tool,
when you get
I
something that's
didn't
just
love it as a
hilariously
game.
funny.
For one, the story
But
progression
this
to
is
unlock
all it
new
is.
songs is slow. Oh my
Yeah.
god. I imagine that was their way of nudging you to buy them with real money. Also, and this bit is more a reflection of how costly music licensing is, but I feel like this game was never able to reach its full potential. Personally, I think a game like this would be incredible for live streaming. You go on, you make mashups with your fans, you take requests from the audience. Fun time. But not only were there strict rules for how the game could be presented on stream, but only a small handful of songs could be used for a monetized stream. I wanted to show you those
Yeah.
songs, but that's when I learned that Fuser was taken offline in late 2022. You can't buy
Oh.
it anymore. And Harmonix was bought by Epic Games to do Fortnite stuff.
Oh. Jesus taken down.
At least we have Trombone Champ.
Speak of the devil.
Finally, we've peaked. To round out this retrospective, I'd like to take a look at games that are not necessarily rhythm games, but rather rhythmic games, if that makes sense. Rez is a good example. It's a 2001 rail shooter, but its electronica soundtrack is woven into the very fabric of the game, which makes sense. It comes from the producer of Space Channel 5, and said producer
Yeah,
would go on to
Trombone
bring that
Champ,
same
baby.
musical synchronicity to games like Lumines and Tetris Effect. Crypt of the Necrodancer is a roguelike RPG where you move and attack in time with a song. We even got an official Legend of Zelda themed sequel in 2019, and there's a spin-off in the Necrodancer series coming later this year. Metal Hellsinger is the same idea as
I played
Necrodancer,
that. I'm not a
except
big
you
fan.
shoot guns in time with the rhythm.
Yeah, it's
No Straight
fucking
Roads
metal
is an
music,
action-adventure
but
game about two rockers
you still have to
battling a
be
city
very,
filled
very
with
good at
EDM.
basically
The game
Doom
itself is
style
decent,
shooter
but
like
the
that.
soundtrack is phenomenal. For real, I named this as one of my favorite
Oh,
albums
they've
of
already
2020.
spoke about that.
Finally, Hi-Fi Rush came out
It was
earlier
just a
this
little
year
bit.
for Xbox and Windows, and based on reviews, it seems like a fun time. Please put this on Switch at a time that is convenient for you. And that just about covers the history of rhythm games thus far. I don't know if we'll ever see a full-on resurgence of the genre like we did in the late 2000s, but without a doubt, this genre has brought us some legit classics. Some of these games were my own gateway into music as an art form, and I hope maybe you'll check out one or two of the games that I mentioned here today. And if there's a game that I didn't mention, let me know in the comments.
There is hopefully going to be yeah. So that's that. So that is the wild world of rhythm games. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and also I'll put a link down to the original creators video. Mike the Snare, which I think is just a perfectly matched name, down in the description so you can go and rewatch it. Rewatch some of the best bits of that video. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next one.